The Shredded Truth, In Search of Innovation's Trajectory. Chapter 1. The Objective Conditions Innovation Requires. Does innovation require particular conditions to occur? China's present situation answers this question with great clarity. China has 1.4 billion people. It has the productive capacity to meet the demand of the entire world. It has an ample supply of currency. It has a higher education system that is becoming more and more widely available. It has an ever larger pool of engineering graduates and an ever larger body of researchers. Altogether, it would appear that we already have in place every element needed for innovation to take place, and yet we remain insulated from innovation. Innovation, then, does require conditions. What is it that has locked away China's capacity to innovate? A great many experts and scholars have given this question a great deal of deep, rational thought, working from culture down to system, from system down to genes, from genes down to ways of thinking, and from ways of thinking down to race. The answers offered have been wide-ranging. Taken as a whole, most of this thinking has confined itself to subjective territory, yet the 100 schools of debate have not led us onto the track of innovation. The signs grow clearer every day that Chinese manufacturing has quietly entered a track of racing to the bottom, and that happiness is slipping out of people's fingers. Given that for 2 centuries and more we have failed to find the key to the problem on the subjective side, we may as well set aside what people call culture, ways of thinking, system, and genes, all of which are subjective factors, and look directly at the objective side for the answer. Like every other concept, each person carries their own standard for what counts as objective. Each person believes themselves to be acting objectively, but the information the database any one person has touched is always wrapped inside a larger body of information. So what each person treats as objective is in fact only a partial objectivity, which is to say, it is subjective. What sort of objectivity is genuinely beyond dispute? In this author's view, only an objectivity built on the foundation of mathematics is uniform and undisputed. Over 1 + 1 = 2, no country, no people, no faith disputes anything at all. Only the regularities one digs up from a starting point that is itself beyond dispute carry universal significance, and only such regularities can deliver a consensus that nobody contests. A relation of mutual substitution exists between human beings and machines. People do not much care whether the commodity they buy was created by a machine or by a human being. What they mind is its value for money. Once urbanization has been completed, the cost of human labor rises without break, and the cost of machinery falls without break. This drives the enterprise into a position in which it has no choice but to discard expensive human labor in favor of cheap machinery. The endpoint of intelligent automation is intelligent robots producing intelligent robots, taking over the whole of human physical labor. The transmission of information over the internet, in parallel, takes over the whole of the white-collar workers' work in the information field. On the present trajectory, the advance of intelligent automation runs in inverse proportion to the index of human happiness. The root of the present contradiction is this: the microscopic domain is sprinting towards zero employment. The macroscopic domain still wishes to hold employment at 100%. In mathematical terms, these are 2 completely divergent targets. The microscopic direction is 0. The macroscopic direction is 100%. The macroscopic is the sum of all the microscopic units laid on top of each other. Sigma micro equals macro. When every microscopic motion is pointed at 0, and government regulation still tries to keep the macroscopic at 100%, market failure follows of its own accord. Trying to repair a failed market is in essence the same activity as trying to prove that sigma 0 = 1. Mathematics does not permit sigma 0 = 1, and the objective world does not permit it either. The classical canon turns a blind eye to this failure at the bottom of the market and tries to dissolve the crisis through skillful regulation, ingenious marketing, and clever engineering, all of which plainly contradict the objective state of things. The rapid change in the objective environment and the accelerating arrival of intelligent automation gradually turn the traditional classics from a science that drove innovation forward into a theology that holds innovation back. They put innovation under a self-lock. Set the classics aside and look at the present. Producing one motor car takes only 16 to 20 total working hours. Its sale price is roughly equal to a white-collar worker's annual income. This means the real value of 1 year's income is only a few dozen working hours. Under the old mechanism of full employment, every commodity is wrapped in one layer after another. In the end, things needed for everyday life, with a real worth of about 20 total working hours, appear in the guise of several thousand working hours. The value beyond those 20 hours has been forced into the package. The ratio between a commodity's real value and its value after compound packaging is roughly 1 to 99. This ratio tells us that across a year only about 3 days of our labor is genuinely valuable, and that the remaining 300 days or so are labor for the sake of labor. For 99% of their time, the human being is the slave of the information, the capital, that human beings themselves have created. Put the other way round, the heart of the present contradiction is that efficiency has already grown too high. It is already approaching intelligent automation. From the angle of technology, production is already approaching the unmanned state. Transport already has the conditions for unmanned operation. Information transfer over the internet is free, and it can be made unmanned as well. Market 等于 production 加 transport 加 information. When the market can reach an unmanned, intelligent automation state, the one thing the human being still needs to do is to enjoy life and to innovate according to what they like. The objective requirement is that human working time and leisure time exchange places. If working time today is 100% in order to obtain economic freedom, the objective requirement is that human labor time falls to 1% for the same economic freedom. To put it another way, the objective requirement is that we create a wholly new mechanism. Under that mechanism, a human being can trade free fragmentary time for economic freedom. The field is left open for intelligent machines, intelligent robots, and the internet. Intelligent automation is lifted from its present N% gradually up to 100%. Reward without labor at last becomes a universal right. This objective requirement, it should be said, fits the dream of the whole of humanity with great precision, and it does not vary according to race, gene, or culture. The starting point of the new mechanism is that fragmentary time can buy economic freedom. An average working time falls to about 3 days per person per year, or about 200 days over a lifetime, which happens to coincide with a university student's internship. This means that in the intelligent automation society led by the new mechanism, the right to work and the duty to work will swap places. Full-time labor will turn from a duty into a right. It will be only during the university years that a person enjoys the right to work full-time. A lifetime of 200 full-time working days or fewer is the objective requirement of innovative development under intelligent automation. It is an undisputed conclusion of inference. Under the old market mechanism, this state of affairs cannot arise of its own accord, because every worker in the market is competing for full-time 100% employment, and that direction runs opposite to the direction the objective requires 0%. Outside the traditional market, people's fragmentary time is free. It is not held in by the traditional tracks of interest. Using that free fragmentary time and relying on the collective open mode of innovation, one can open up a transparent, consumer-led market that cuts the unnecessary labor time out of commodities, so that those who put in fragmentary time win economic freedom. Although the objectivity built on mathematics needs no proof, the traditional classics have already grown strong enough to be planted deep inside us. We still need to start from the starting point of the market and, following the classical logic, splice the fragmentary trace of innovation together along the time axis into something organic, so that its continuous shape appears in front of us. From there, we can find the inner drive that governs the movement of that trace, that is, the invisible hand. Doing this serves two purposes. The first is that it dispels our fantasy about, and our reliance on, the invisible hand. The second is that with the inner mechanism of the invisible hand and the inherent trace of innovation in hand, every person can carry on along innovation's original trace. The inferences we end up with then hold together. Given that consistency, free fragmentary time will of its own accord mate freely over the internet. Intelligent automation led by fragmentary time will set full-time labor free and leave the field open for intelligent machines. Innovation will arise as a matter of course. The endpoint is a 100% degree of intelligent automation. A lifetime of 200 working days or fewer will be the gift that intelligent automation gives to humanity.